Jazzcast Pros.
Today's conversation dives into the power of storytelling, the strength found in community, and what it truly means to build something that outlives you. We sit down with Desiree Cruz, CEO of Merge Worldwide and visionary author of Warrior Women, as she shares how her journey through trauma became a movement rooted in healing, legacy, and impact. If you have ever felt called to turn your pain into purpose or create a deeper impact through your story, this episode will meet you right where you are and remind you that your voice matters. Welcome to Healing Her Within, where inner healing meets unstoppable power. This podcast is for women ready to stop shrinking, heal their inner child, and rise into their true selves. I'm your host, Mariah Rivera, and here we have real conversations about healing, growth, and reclaiming your voice. You were never broken, you were becoming. So take a breath, settle in, and let's begin from the inside out. Today we have a special guest. Can you take a moment to tell us your name and introduce yourself?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me, Marianne. I am Desiree Cruz. I am the CEO of Merge Worldwide, and I'm the leading author of Warrior Women.
Awesome. And in addition to that, you're also a wife, a mother, and like many women, wearing many hats. So can you tell us what prompted you to start Warrior Women? What is that all about?
What prompted me was honestly an intimate conversation, just like at my dinner table. And there was a very special circumstance that happened where my husband got a message from Canada, and it was a gentleman, and he was reading my child's book to his son. And I sat at this table, the same exact table I'm sitting at right now. And I literally I have like tears right now just thinking about it. I sat there and I was just sitting there, and as a mom, I was like, man, this is so beautiful. Like, they don't even realize how beautiful that is. Here, this grown man was reading my kid's book about grief just to his child because his wife had just passed. And it was a kid's version of like, what does grief look like to them? And in that moment, I was blown away. I was happy. I was proud. I was sad. I was all these things because that book was a memory of my youngest daughter.
Okay.
And I said to them, you guys may not know it now, but that is huge global impact that someone from a different country got your book and is using it and applying it to their own family. And it's so beautiful. And that's legacy. And that's called keeping legacy alive. And it just kind of naturally, organically turned into this conversation with my teenager who was like 17 at the time. And she was very, very blunt and very direct in how kids are. And I just looked over at her and I was like, do you even know mommy's story? And she was like, well, yeah, mom, of course I do. But your story's too sad. And I was like, wow. Fair. It was fair. Right. It is sad, but it did something for me that day. And it got me thinking about like, how many times is this happening?
Right.
How many times is this happening where people get to walk away thinking that they know your story and then walk away feeling however they want to feel about your story?
Right.
And, you know, it was fair, and she was 17, and I told her, I said, sweetie, if all you've taken away from my story that I've been very honest and blunt about with you is that you feel bad for me, I said, I feel like I failed.
Wow.
So I said, the last thing I want you to do is feel bad for me. There's so much more that I need you to know from these stories that I've shared with you throughout your childhood and whatever. And I couldn't sleep all night. I literally woke up and I called probably 40 women the next day. And I was like, listen, there's a situation and I want to fix it. And I want women to start leaning into their stories. I want them to be openly sharing their stories without shame and without guilt and without rebuttal. And I want women's legacies to be known in their family. And I want people to understand, like, not only am I going to share my story with you, but I want to share the lessons that I directly want you to know from me sharing the story. And so that's where women came from. It was literally a conversation that I had with my daughter at first and God second that evening.
Yeah.
And I woke up with a mission.
I love that. And not only from her point of view was your story too sad, but at the same time, how many other women have been afraid to share because they have thought that their story was either too sad, not enough, too tragic, or too whatever, fill in the blank. So the fact that you saw that need, that personal need, but also a bigger need, and you open up the doors for many women. So to date, how many women have you helped to become authors?
Oh my goodness. We're on our fourth series now. And each series has anywhere from 10 to 15 girls in it. So let's just say,
Yeah.
15 and, times four. So we've
That's
had
beautiful.
it's over 50 girls that are published authors. And then within this own area, like within the Finger Lakes area, I'd say that there's probably close to 50 warrior women around here locally that have or have not been a part of the book, but just a part of my world through the monthly meetups that I do. So, that just gives girls community, whether you're in the book or whether you're not in the book. It's just simply for women to have community.
Yeah. Why is community so important to you?
It's everything. Well, here's one. The first time that I actually realized that it was everything, it wasn't just something, it was everything, was when my daughter died. When Faith passed away, community came out of nowhere. I mean, honestly, I have never seen anything like it. They were picking up my kids, taking care of my animals, bringing meals, offering rides, taking them to school, like letting them spend the night over at their house so that we could be at the hospital. Like there's just so much that was happening. And I thought to myself, wow, it is honestly so beautiful that I felt so loved in such a terrible time of my life, and it was everything. And honestly, like at the time Jesse was coaching basketball and so he had to like miss games and stuff that he was the coach. And somebody took over the whole team and they all wore purple for premature awareness. I mean, it was just like all the stuff that was happening. I was like blown away by the amount of love and community. And I've like, from that moment on, I realized community is everything, especially when there's circumstances happening in people's lives. A lot of times, often people feel very alone in those moments. And even though I did feel alone in some ways because I felt like, why was it us that had our child pass away? But the only thing that didn't make me feel alone was the community that kept surrounding me. So it was like, it was everything. And then the other thing is, I felt as if once I went through the phase of raising my children, I feel like women in general just spend so much time in their career, so much time as a spouse, so much time in the church, so much time raising their kids and really finding their identity in those things.
Right.
And as I raised the girls, and once they became old enough to kind of like do some more on their own, and it freed me up as far as like having to do all the things, I realized I felt like I didn't really know myself that much as much as I would like to. And I really missed having girlfriends that were my age. Like instead of just talking to my children all the time and playing with my children, like I wanted to get back into, and I was a teacher at the time. So it's like I was always surrounded by kids, or my coworkers, right? But it's not like that's completely different than like girlfriends that you can hang out with and laugh with and dance with and whatever. And I thought, man, I felt like I lost my community. So I decided, because you get older and you outgrow people.
Correct.
Or you guys don't have kids, you don't have kids at the same age. They're in different seasons or whatever it is. Or some girls are just working like 70 hours a week, right? Just to like, provide for their family. And I get that. I just was like, you know what? I don't really have a community, to be honest. So I made one.
Yeah, that's amazing. And not only is it, feeding a need for yourself, but also a need that I am pretty sure nine times out of 10, other women are also, going through. When it comes to the book, I'm not sure how many times, but the last couple that I'm aware of have been launched on a cruise. So what made that come about? Was the very first one on a cruise? And if not, how did the whole cruise thing come about? Because that is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it wasn't actually, that was not part of it at first. When we first started, it was that wasn't even actually on my, my wall of things that I was dreaming at the time. And it's funny because by the second one, I said, well, how do I get better? And I did other things to make it better. It definitely wasn't a cruise.
Yeah.
So like my first one went by, my second one went by, and then by the time the third one came, I just realized, I said, you know what? I gotta be 100%. I gotta chase 100%. And I was kind of in a moment in my life where it was like I had broken all my limiting beliefs. I had never written a book, and here I am with books. I
Yeah.
had never led a girls group, and here I am with a girls group.
Yeah.
We never hosted live events in different countries, and I had already done it by then. And I started thinking to myself, if I was chasing 100, what would it look like? Because it's just me and myself in my own way. Because we are able to do whatever we want, and make it happen. And
Right.
so I was just like, if I was chasing 100, what would it look like? And I was like, let's do it on a boat. And my husband was like, what? And I think my publisher is still right now. I think he's still even like, what? But yeah, so the last two series was launched on the boat. And so we just came back from the last one actually in March.
I love that. And, being on a boat, you're out there. How is the Wi-Fi like? Because I know you've made the bestsellers list, and I know that the Wi-Fi is kind of, wonky out there. When you
Mm-hmm.
realize it and you're like, oh my gosh, we made the bestsellers list. Like, what is that feeling like?
I have a little bias about that.
Okay.
I think it's great. And I think, I get like, if you're part of something and, everybody looks to that, like that's like kind of like what they're hoping to get to and stuff. But the more I've learned about it, and how it actually works
Yes.
and stuff,
Right.
I mean, it's nice, I guess. I wouldn't say that that's what I'm focused on,
Mm-hmm.
but I do understand that people are part of projects and that they're hoping that that's kind of like something that they can do, because
Right.
in the world that we live in, it's kind of like people are looking for those kinds of things. But I'm going to be honest with you. I really, really just think what's best for me is that the group has different results. And it doesn't necessarily need to be the Amazon bestselling, even though we have gotten that, right? And I
Right.
understand that they are hoping, that that's a thing. But like, honestly, for me, if you've gotten a lifelong friendship out of this community, I've won. And so have you. If you've gotten sales from this, you've won, and so have I. If women are reaching out to you saying, I just read your story and it's changed my whole life. Like, I literally just got this today or the other day. I just got this sent to me the other day. It's a handwritten note that someone sent to me in the mail, with a very special thing connected to Warrior Women, and she made it all and everything because these stories are powerful and they're life changing, and it's simply just to be able to share and not gatekeep some of the lessons that we've learned, and to be able to pass them around so we can collectively learn together. And so, if you've gotten a collaboration, or if you've got like self-confidence and was like, you know what, I'm going to launch my book now, or I'm going to start my own event now, or I want to start my own anthology now. That I think I look for that more than I do the Amazon bestselling. I mean, that's like a cherry on top, I feel like. Yeah.
And that's so true, because having written and been a part of numerous books and have my own anthologies and things like that, once I realized how the game is played, because literally it's a game, it kind of took something away from it. You know what I mean? And the thing about it is that I actually had a conversation with one of the KDP Amazon people, because I had a question about something, and he was like, well, there's really no way that we can tell when a book is, bestseller. because the categories change and things like that. And I said, okay, well, why is it that like some people, Mel Robbins, Elizabeth Gilbert, big name people, when you search their book, it still shows that it's been, Amazon bestseller on a list once upon a time, but not other books. And they
Mm-hmm.
were like, look at who you are and look at who they are. The platforms are different and things like that. So, like you said, it did take something away, from it. And the greater impact is what the impact is making, the book is making on other people. Like you said, if you get that one, collaboration or that friendship or that unexpected letter in the mail, that somebody, either your chapter has made a difference in someone's life, that's where the true value is from.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier on, you mentioned legacy, and I know that's something that's huge for you. Talk
Mm-hmm.
about a little bit about that. Why is that so important to you?
So, huge thing for me, I was like really, really close to both my grandparents. So, both my grandmas. Like, my nanny was literally my whole world.
Mm.
She was my most favorite human that had ever lived. And then my other grandma was like, I was very close with as well, just on a different way. So, one of them came from the Depression era, another one just lived in a different kind of situation where she was like the head of the household kind of role. And I remember just sitting there my whole life listening to their stories. And again, they were everything to me. So they were like my role models. I wanted to be like them. I wanted to have my life kind of look like them. And the more I learned about my nanny story, the more I realized that, well, one, she wasn't even allowed to write her story. I mean, this wasn't even an option for her. And then my other one, she played the role of like housewife. And because of that, she didn't even think about like how would I put this down on a published piece so that it never goes away. And so unfortunately what happened was because of the two separate situations with both my grandmothers, I don't have anything. I have no
Hmm.
concrete anything
Right.
of their lessons, those stories. And so what happened was this is I had no clarity. I currently like don't even remember most of the stories at this point because it's been since a long time since they've passed.
Yeah.
And for me, I would literally give anything to be able to have that and to be able to like just look back on and read, but then also like to be able to share it to my kids.
Right.
It just made me start thinking about like, what do I have? What is it what do I have? So, and I'm so glad I thought about it because they would have walked away thinking, damn, I felt bad for her.
Mm.
And I'm so glad that we had that
Yeah.
conversation. And I'm so glad I thought about, well, what is it exactly that I want to pass down? And man, I'm honestly, because I know once I leave, this is going to be forever. This is going to
Right.
stay forever. This doesn't change. And they're going to see it and be able to read it at any point and any time. No one's going to make them feel like it was wrong. It wasn't clear. It's not gray anymore. It's black and white.
Yeah. And they may
Black and white.
continue it on.
Right?
Yeah.
They might say, hey, my mom was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I want to, maybe I should probably keep this thing going. I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. That's beautiful. So, you touched on your daughter passing. For the woman that may have experienced something similar, they may be struggling. What advice do you have for her? What words do you have for her?
So yeah, as far as that club that nobody wants to be a part of, right? Nobody wants
Yeah.
to be a part of that club. So for any of the mothers out there who are listening to this podcast who have had children pass away, unfortunately, it's the worst club to be a part of. I mean, there's no way around that. But what I can say is this. I've had significant trauma in my life, nothing quite like losing a child. Okay. And I've had some significant trauma. Okay. I'd say by far that was the worst. And what I want to say is that I had to come to a place where I said, how do I honor her name? How do I honor her legacy? And as a mother who's experienced the loss, and as a mother who has other children watching how I experienced the loss, we could have really let this thing drown us, or we could take this thing and get to the other side of it, because there is another side of it. And on the other side of grief, right, I do believe that, will I be grieving always? Absolutely. I do believe I will always grieve the losses that I've had, especially with my daughter. But there's a difference of being able to take something and then come to the other side of it. And then the final finale of that is that you're able to say, I've walked through this so that I can help other people now. And that's like the final finale. And that really is legacy. And so to me, I thought about this 1 pound baby, and we filmed a documentary on the ship as well called 1 Pound of Purpose. It's going to be coming out. And to me, if a 1 pound baby can make this much of a difference, just imagine what you and I can do.
Yeah.
We're here. We're here still living and breathing. She's not. And she was only here for 42 days. And it's like, man, the amount of things that she had happen, like the tidal wave of movement that she caused in multiple areas of my life and in many others in communities and different countries. I mean, we had different countries praying for faith. I was like, man, there's no excuse for me.
Yeah, that's powerful.
There's no excuse. So I'm committed. Like every time I step into something where I have to put myself out of the way, like I have to put my feelings out of the way, I just think this is honoring faith. And that's kind of what I do. Like, that's kind of how I live, is like, is this honoring my values? And is this honoring my faith? And is this honoring faith? And if it's not, it's easy for me just to be like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I would say that probably most of your audience, if they had lost a child, they can see that that's, if it's not somewhere where they're at currently, it's kind of like the end hope of where to try to get to at some point, because it's tough. I mean, So I just think about that on a daily basis. Like when I'm scared, I'm not scared anymore. I've been through worse.
Yeah.
When I'm in my own head, can't be in my own head. I'm here, she's not, right?
Right.
It's kind of like one of them things. It's like I'm like the voice of the voiceless in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Definitely going to have you back on the podcast to just dig in more into a lot of these things. So what's, the rest of 2026 looking like for Warrior Women for you? When is the next book coming out that you're going to start accepting applications for possible co-authors?
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited. I just locked in my sponsor. I just locked in my on-site sponsor for the next cruise just yesterday. So it was like a year away, and someone called me and reached out to me, and I'm like, man, what a blessing that is to be able to have people watching where they're contacting me and saying, hey, how can I be a part of this? And so I just locked that in, and I'm really, really excited about it. And this thing is moving along. And so, we have the next one planned. And I hope that you can come on that. I think because you travel so much too. I really want you to come. I really want you to meet these girls and be a part of this. So so I have the next one planned. It's on a different boat this time. We're doing 2 different countries. Next time we're doing, it's just going to be amazing. So I'm so excited about that. So next March I have that going on for the next series of girls. So I'll be starting some probably sales calls for the next series, probably towards like the end of spring.
Okay.
And then I actually begin the series in the fall. And then it's usually completed right around February-ish. And then we launch that thing in March.
I love that. So before I ask you where people can connect with you, so you are on the Healing Her Within podcast. How do you think little Desiree feels about how you are doing today? The things that you have accomplished and are doing?
That one's a deep personal one for me. Marianne, if I could tell you that little old Desiree from Newark, New York, I could never imagine, honestly, the amount of healing that I've walked through. the amount of personal development that I've walked through. And like as a child, like to be 100% honest with you, I was consumed by this terrible mindset of like I was meant to have a terrible life. Like that's just I I don't know what it was, but when I was younger, I just thought this is what it was going to be like forever. And I didn't think that I would ever get out of this circle of dysfunction that I was a part of for a very long time. And I'd say that she'd probably look at me and think, "Wow, I could never imagine that this amount of personal development could take place." Because when I tell you, it was a lot of work from the inside out, and I got to give a lot of it to me stepping into my church for the first time. Honestly, and I understand not everybody feels the same way about church or had the same experience with church, and I thank God every day that the one church I walked into is still the same church that I go to.
Oh, wow.
And I just feel like that was a God thing for me. And so I give it to God because, well, one, I didn't even talk about God in my family when I was growing up. Now I'm in my 40s and I can't even imagine how people don't live without it. Like to me, it's everything, and it's helped me get rid of all of my stuff so that I could be new.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's really, in a lot of ways, our company is actually called Chainbreaker. And it's really symbolizes that. It's broken on every chain that I've ever had so that I've been able to kind of rebirth myself into this newer version of myself.
Yeah.
That's not in survival. That's not consumed by dysfunction. That's not thinking that life was always going to be terrible, right? I'm like completely the other side of it. So I think she would laugh. I think she would cry, but then I think she would fist pump me. Yeah. And then we both go like this.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So where can our audience connect with you, learn more about you, and find out about the book and purchase the books that have already been out?
Oh, yeah. So on Facebook is just my name. It's Desiree Cruz. On Instagram, I'm on Instagram as well. That's like D Cruz. I'm on LinkedIn as well. Not as much as I would like to be, but I'm gonna start doing some of that. But I have made a little bit of, I have checked it out a little bit, so I'm starting to like actually lock in. My website is www.mergeworldwide.com. So that's a really great place to kind of see and check us out and see what the mission is and see some of the examples of all the events and things. The books are on there. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all those kinds of platforms has got all the books on it. Yeah. And we're going to release a Audible version of this new series. So I'm excited about that. So that's going to be something that you can just listen to the girls read their chapter. So that's going to be coming soon. But yeah, that's how you can find me.
Beautiful. And I'll make sure to capture all of that into the show notes. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Healing Her Within. I hope today's message spoke to your soul and reminded you just how powerful you are. If you loved this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a sister who needs it, and leave a review so more women can find their way to healing. And remember, your healing is your responsibility, but you don't have to do it alone. Follow me on social media at Marianne Rivera Dannert, and be sure to visit mariannerivera.com to access free resources in Rochester, New York. Until next time, keep healing, keep rising, and always honor the woman you're becoming. This is Healing Her Within, and girl, we are just getting started. And one last thing, this is a disclaimer. The information shared in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only, and it's not a substitute for professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. I am not a licensed therapist or counselor. If you're dealing with mental health or emotional challenges, please seek support from a qualified professional or a licensed counselor. Have a beautiful day.